Welcome to Wealth Beyond the White Coat, a show where we dive deep into the world of financial freedom for dentists and medical professionals. I'm your host, Darren Flesher, a dentist with a passion for uncovering the strategies that lead to a prosperous life beyond the office. Every episode will explore the avenues of alternative investing, tax mitigation, and secrets to build wealth that the textbooks don't teach you. Whether you're looking to enhance your financial literacy, discover new investment opportunities, or simply find a better way to manage your money, this is the place where your financial health is the core of our conversations. Welcome to Wealth Beyond the White Coat, where your journey to financial clarity and freedom begins. Welcome back to part 2 of our conversation with Laura Maly from Wonderist. In part 1, we explored the importance of creating a unique brand message and how tracking your marketing return on investment can transform your practice. Today, we're getting into the details of how Wonderist uses data and AI to make marketing more efficient and targeted for dentists. So let's jump back in. Yeah. So a couple things I think I heard you say there. One is deciding who you are, like being authentic to what you're trying to deliver to the market. And then if you decide that's what you want, but maybe it's not exactly you, but you do want that to be incorporated into what you're offering or what you're showing to the world, maybe hire to your weaknesses, find people to fill in those gaps and have somebody else do that for you. So yeah, I agree with that. That's my practice personally. I'm not doing any of that stuff. And I just accepted it, like you said, that I'm not going to get patients in that way. And that's okay. That's who we are. But I just didn't know if you'd anecdotally or if you studied it enough to know this is a huge ROI, or if it's just more about who you are and being true to yourself as far as what you want and as far as the marketing campaign to be, if there's really outsized value that you should force it, or if forcing it's going to be blatantly obvious that you're forcing it and you shouldn't pursue that.
I think it's somewhere in the middle. And honestly, business ownership is hard enough. I think pushing people to do things that they absolutely hate is never going to be a profoundly good use of time. It has to be balanced with like necessity versus pleasure, honestly.
Yeah. Cool. I know, and I listened to previous interviews with you and in some of those you discussed the importance of storytelling in dental marketing. So could you elaborate on how Wonderist uses storytelling to connect with potential patients?
Yeah, I think honestly, a lot of it is anchored in video and photo and demonstrating what people's interests are and how they want to be perceived in a market and finding somebody's why, right? And knowing that evolves over time is profoundly effective in connecting with a community. So I just quickly comes to mind is we have a client who is very in love with dogs. She's just loves her dog, loves all dogs, and wanted that to be a cornerstone of her practice. And so she's created an entire practice centered around her dog and her dog coming into the office and that sort of being the mascot. And I know that's not totally an unfamiliar concept. We've heard of or seen a few of those dentists, but it's very unfamiliar in her area. And she tends to be in a slightly more rural area. And that's just been a very attractive and appealing thing. She's got a sweet and fun personality. She's added a give to her practice so that any new patient comes in and a donation is made to a local rescue, which connects her to her community and anybody who's connected to that community. And telling that story and winning the hearts of the community is great. And if you can find something like that for someone, or the operator is in a position to say, hey, this is my story, I want to tell it, that's amazing. We also have another client who's just delightful. And she went to dental school and then moved back to Houston so that she could serve the city that raised her. And that's her modus operandi. And I love that. And so how do you find the thing that makes you tick? And how do you talk about that in a way that feels comfortable for you, but also allows people to see the authentic version of yourself so that they can be interested and walk in the door and pick up the phone when the time is right?
Yeah, cool. So I know Wonderist, you guys are known for some of your innovative approaches to marketing. Can you share an example of a particularly creative campaign that yielded results that maybe are a little bit outsized for one of your clients?
Oh man, let me think here. What's a fun one that's off the top of my head? Oh, I'm actually looking at it right here. We don't do a ton of direct mail. And back in the day we did a little bit more and we handle it ourselves, but we had somebody do a golden ticket that was just beautifully drawn in Illustrator. It was just a sight to behold. And that did an outsized number of performance, I think, just on its look and feel alone. And even as I get the mail today as an adult person 7 years later, I still have never seen anything like it in the mail. And so I think it
Yeah.
really stood out. And it was an Invisalign. I think it's $1,000 off Invisalign. So nothing
Okay.
crazy offer wise, but it was the visual of it and where it landed, which was like a heavily family oriented. Mom is the chief dental officer of the household, and it was right at back to school. And so it
Okay.
just landed really well and did an outsized performance. That was like a fun one-off one.
So tell me more about that. Did they randomly select people, or that was the mailer to everybody? They
That
all
was the mailer
received
to
it.
everybody. It just did really
Okay.
well. Yeah. One of the other ones that I really like was a dental implant campaign that we ran that was attached to our CRM and our funnels that we talked about a little bit earlier. And the photo and video and resources that we had available from that practice were really robust. And so the landing page we were able to create, the brand identity that we helped them create with the photo and video it was sexy. And there was testimonials, there was PDF downloadable resources about, do you qualify for dental implants? It was take this quiz. It had testimonials on it. And all of that sounds so basic, but when you combine it all into one landing page, it was just this souped up, beautiful experience for somebody who was clearly at the bottom of the funnel. It was generating through PPC campaign. It was a PPC campaign that was generating to this landing page. And it just was gangbusters. I think it was like in 4 months' time, they had produced like $370,000
Wow.
production. It was absurd. So that
That's
was really fun. And I will say one of the things that made that extra special was they had a lead qualifying person answering the phone that was in their office. And so this gentleman's specialty was to close every person that came through on that landing page. And man, having an expert in a role like that in office makes all the difference.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, it's a great story. I know you've previously talked about the power of patient testimonials in marketing. So, how would you guide practices to collect and use these testimonials effectively to obviously lead to more new patients, revenue, using it as a word of mouth strategy? Do you guide your practices on how to do that in the best practice way?
Yeah, we have some guides on how to do those things well. I think the misnomer is that it ultimately sometimes people think and it's when you can get it, it's amazing and you can afford it and you want to double down on it, get the studio set up, right? Get the studio lights, get the mics, do it right. But there's just amazing things this phone can do and we might as well, right? And so maybe you splurge a couple times every couple years to do the big setup and get some really beautiful, profound casework and clients in there. But the truth of the matter is in a day-to-day basis, this can do your hand-to-hand combat for you. You just have to have a quiet room and good light and have some nice questions to ask them. And then make sure that when you ask the question, you ask them to repeat the question back to you. So, why do you love coming here, doc? I love coming to Wonderist Agency because. And so when you do that, you can do a quick edit on your phone and throw it on the website, throw it on your GMB, throw it on your YouTube page, and you've made content and then obviously put a paid ad behind it and you're going.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that you made a good point in that a lot of people overcomplicate it. They think they've got to have this big production. Even in my own practice, I wanted to get into photography and documenting things well and selling and showing cases as far as before and afters. And honestly, I found that if you get a DSLR and the lights and all, that's great if I'm the one doing it because I learned it all and could execute it. But in reality, I'm going to delegate that, or I want it to be able to be done by anybody that's in the office, literally a phone and maybe a little extra ring light or something like that something is better than nothing. Getting started
Yep.
is better than putting it off for perfection. I like that you encourage that with your testimonials as well. I think that's really powerful. I think having something that's ubiquitous with your phone and something your team is more than comfortable with pulling out and using already, I think that's definitely the way to go. And
Yeah.
if you want to graduate and do something bigger and better, great, but just get started, do something. Financial freedom is about making the right moves at the right time. As practice owners, we often reach a point where growth stalls. Instead of maintaining at that plateau, consider cashing in now, putting that money to work for you, letting it double, triple, or even more over the course of your career, and then go pursue more of what you love to do. This is exactly what I did with my friend JW a dental practice broker who found the perfect partner for my practice, maximized its value, and optimized the deal terms. He offers a free valuation for those considering a sale. If you want an introduction and the same red carpet treatment shown to me by my friend JW, email me at darren@legacypointgroup.com. That's DEREN at legacypointgroup.com. And I'll be happy to connect you with JW to start your journey to financial independence.
People like the authenticity, right? Sometimes it's nice to have the lights, camera, action whole situation, but at the same time, it's just nice to have somebody organically do something and have them look like a real human being, have you look like a real human being, and just have a little grit to it and a little sense of humor about the fact that it may not be perfect or whatever. And that's approachable. That makes somebody look like a human. It makes them look friendly and approachable and like their authentic self at the end of the day.
Yeah, agreed. I want to go back to, and this might play into the software and stuff that you guys are using, but I've heard you guys discuss the significance of patient retention versus acquisition. So when you guys are doing a marketing campaign, how do you balance the efforts in these two areas with your strategies as far as retention versus new acquisition?
I think on it, to be totally honest, we are not looking at retention too heavily. We are much more front end or historically have been much more front end. So the new patient flow in and then, hey doc, can you make sure your back door is closed? However, what I will say is because of this transition with our new product and the integration, it's going to allow us to see that attrition rate a lot more easily and be able to talk about it. And so, why is somebody leaving the practice? If you're in San Diego, maybe in our neighborhood, there just is naturally more attrition from people floating in and out of California versus where I'm from, which is the suburbs of Milwaukee. And so, how do you pin that down and what the reason is? And then, how do you close that back door? And as part of not closing the back door, the fact that you're not communicating with them on a regular basis outside your 6-month appointments, right? Has the treatment plan gone unfulfilled for months and you're waiting for somebody to move, or you've waited too long and now we need to go down a path we didn't want to go down? Is it closing because there's churn in the community? Is it closing because you're not creating the rapport on a need-to-need basis? I think it begs a lot of questions, but it's not something that we're totally focused on right now.
Okay, great. Um, I've got a few more questions for you
Yeah.
here. One of them I want to talk about, maybe I threw a curveball at you earlier with talking about negative things in marketing. So let's go back to that for a second here. Can you tell me a little bit about a time where somebody maybe came to you, they were struggling and you guys helped turn their marketing efforts around? Do you have maybe a story or two about somebody who obviously they're coming to you for change? So was anybody that was trying something that wasn't working, or something that you felt like they just weren't a product market fit with what they were trying to accomplish there, and how you guys helped them get where they were trying to go?
Yeah, I have a million of those stories. Those are the most fun, honestly. And I think a lot of times people will have the pieces of the puzzle sitting in front of them, but they just need a little help putting all the pieces together and forming the plan or forming the focus. I think probably some of my most favorite scenarios of that are working on clear aligner campaigns and Invisalign campaigns, because a doctor will go get certified or will go get more CE, and suddenly they want to try something new in the practice. And the practice has been hanging out where it is a bread and butter practice. And now we've added these high profile services and we launch a PPC campaign. We start talking about it in SEO on a monthly basis. We're recording videos where we're talking about it. And then this practice goes from having no implant cases to having 3 to 7 decent implant, single or multi implant cases a month. And that's game changing for a life and a lifestyle. And it lets you do a lot of other things. And so, how do you turn the dial up on that? And those are probably the ones I enjoy the most, because I can honor somebody who's just innately curious and wants to continue to grow. So they go get CE and they go get new technology and they want to now put it to work, instead of saying, oh, I went and I got certified and then not doing anything about it in the practice. They're being deliberate and they come to us and they're like, we need help. We want to level up. Here's what we just got CE in, and now I need to go do it. That I really love. That's fun. And those entrepreneurial type clients are people who fit really well here.
Yeah, awesome. Sticking with our kind of turning a negative into a positive theme here, online reviews are huge. That's the digital word of mouth. If you have practices that either you start working with or during your time working with them, they get some negative reviews, do you have a suggested approach to how people should handle those, or maybe just not handle those at all? What do you think about dealing with negative reviews and making that into potentially a positive for the practice. Hey, I just wanted to interrupt the show real quick and tell you about an exclusive member discount for Legacy Point group members. The company is called Gelt, and they're both tax planning and tax preparation. We connected because their CEO actually comes from a family of physicians, and he understands the financial complexities that healthcare professionals face these days. Legacy Point is honored to partner with Gelt because it's our shared mission to empower successful professionals with optimal tax and financial outcomes. For your 20% discount off financial planning and tax preparation and priority access with their onboarding, become a member over at legacypointgroup.com.
I think one of the things that I would do is be kind, be respectful, but create doubt. Not for the person you're responding to, but for other people who may be reading it later. And in a very polite manner, without exposing too much, just infer that there's another side to the story, because generally there is, right? And so if you can maneuver that from a language standpoint, I think generally that puts you in the best position to win. And I think, frankly, are you even running a business if you don't have a 1-star review at this point? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's going to happen, right? It's going to happen.
I tell my team I want to hover between a 4.8 and a 4.9.
Yeah.
Like 5.0 is not real. I've got a practice down the street that's got a 5.0, and I feel like that's almost hurting them, to be honest. I feel like people see through that a little bit. So I like being a 4.8, 4.9 practice. I feel like it does lend some realness to what we're doing. Like, we're not
Credibility,
perfect.
right?
Yeah, we're human. We do make mistakes. Like,
Right.
as long as we're not literally physically hurting somebody. We have errors with verbiage or communication, and we try to rectify that over time and not make that our norm. But there's going to be those, and it's okay to show that. And like you said, as long as you create some doubt or let people know this isn't 99% of the time, this was a one-off, I think there's value in that to show like we're real people. That's it for part 2. And up to now, we've learned about Wonderist's integration between their marketing and your practice management software and the power of automation. In part 3, we'll close out our discussion by diving into some of the biggest challenges and opportunities in dental marketing today, and also what's coming next. So don't miss it. Thanks for listening in to Wealth Beyond the White Coat. Your time and attention mean a lot to us. If you found value in today's episode, please consider leaving us a review on your favorite podcast platform and share it with your colleagues and friends. Your feedback helps us grow and reach more professionals like you striving for financial freedom. Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries of your financial health. Thank you for joining us on this journey to wealth beyond the white coat.